Well, welcome to our webinar today. Chris and I are Marilyn Robinson. We're glad to have you here. And this is getting recorded, so those of you who have missed it will get to watch it second round. But we wanted to invite you to talk about and step out of the box and think about, are you fit to retire? And that means so many different things. It's not just financially. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my screen share going. Hi, Corey. Okay, so again, we're here for Are You Fit to Retire? It's not just financially, it's what is your self-identity going to be when you retire? And we'll talk in detail about all of these. And then what are you going to be doing socially? What's your social life and your outtake going to be? What are you going to do for hobbies? And then what are your relationships? Who are you going to be hanging out with? Of course, health and fitness is really key and is a cornerstone of how we're going to spend that retirement. Financially, Chris is going to cover a lot of that and much more. I want to talk to you. So I mentioned I'm Marilyn Robinson. I'm a life designer, and Chris is here to join. He's a financial advisor. We've teamed up to help people become fit to retire. I like to focus on helping people make the last third of their life the best third. So I challenge you, I ask, have you asked yourself, what will you be doing in your 60s, your 70s, and your 80s? I know when I was in my 30s, I was like, I'm barely thinking about what I'm going to do when I'm 50. And then when I got to 50, I finally could slow down a little bit because kind of 30 to 50 was a blur of craziness. But the 50, I stepped back and I said, wow, look at all I've done in 50 years. And I still have a half a life ahead of me. So this is great. I've got so much more to do. I want to get you to think about some things. So the first is what life will be like as you age. So are you going to accept the fact that your bones start creaking, or are you going to do something about it? Are you thinking that you're in a decline, or are you going to take the attitude and the mindset that you're going to hold steady or actually get better? So these are things I want you to challenge yourself and think through. So who will you be? A lot of times when we retire or we get into that last phase of our life, we have actually left a job with where, frankly, your identity is kind of wrapped up in who you are at work. So you're defined by your job title, your job role, how important you are, what you're contributing, and that's really who you are and what your identity is. And then I had the opportunity of having kids. So then I'm a parent, and oh my gosh, I'm such an awesome parent, haha. But my kids would say I am. And so you become a parent, and that becomes another part of your identity. And then, those dang kids, they grow up and move out and do their own thing. So you lose that identity. So as you get closer to that last phase of life, you really need to think about who it is you want to be and what's going to motivate you. Over years, our friends have kind of evolved. We had friends that, did things with us. Like we used to do a lot of camping before kids, and we kept on camping with the kids. And a lot of our friends said, that's too much work. So they stopped camping with us. So through life, your friendships and your relationships evolve also. And so you really need to plan to have those connections as you go into the third phase of your life. I was fortunate to be able to, I'll tell you more about myself, but fortunate to retire from high tech at the age of 42. So I stepped back and said, wait a minute, all my buddies, I have nobody to play with. They're all at work all day long. So life changes really make you stop to think. And it's good to plan for those things. Who are your best buds who like to do the same things you do? And then where will you live? There's a lot of downsize questions that come up. That's pretty typical. But then also there's the time of, do you want to move near family? You do need to step out of the box and think, at some point somebody might have to take care of me. So should I live nearby family? Or you have grandkids. I don't yet, but I will. And I want to be near them, but will I move or will I fly to see them? Those are questions that you should ask yourself, how you want that lifestyle to be. And then the question on health and fitness. So do you jump out of bed with no aches and pains? I focus on that. And I refuse to groan and moan as I get off the couch or off of a chair. I'm determined to focus on living without the aches and pains of aging. Again, keeping on that same thought, are you healthy or do you visit the doctors too much? So there are things obviously we can do to take care of ourselves, take care of the body we have. And I am blessed, and I truly am blessed that I go to the doctors once a year just for that annual checkup. And that's pretty good for a 60-something-year-old. And then not least, but how will you spend your time? Are you going to become a couch potato and watch Netflix all day? Or are you going to stay in shape and keep doing the physical things that you want? And yes, I know, Chris, you're going to keep taking care of the animals and all of the community. So I'm glad you're here because you're part of my community. So sharing a little bit about myself, I have always charted my own course. I have taken charge and responsibility for my life. And in a quick list of things that I've accomplished, I didn't feel like I was getting that great of an education in high school. So I managed to figure out how to get out in 3 years. And then I went on to college. Granted, I didn't know what I wanted to major in, so I spent 5 years in college and ended up with a BS in computer science. This in the 70s was the up and coming field, and it was fun until I got a job my senior year in college programming. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this takes all the fun out of programming, having to do it all day long. So said, I just got a degree I can't stand. But I did look at what I was doing at the time, and I enjoyed demoing the software to the customers as well as helping customers install it and get it up and running in their business. So I pivoted and decided to interview for jobs of how do you sell a computer? I don't know, but I'll find the company. And I was blessed to be hired by Intel. I had a successful career at Intel, starting as one of their first 4 female salespeople hired, and had many, many, many different roles: sales, customer service, management of all different types, business process, you name it. And I also got to see a lot of places around the world that were not on my bucket list. So I can say I've been to Taiwan, although that was not one of my bucket lists. I was blessed because of my success to be able to retire at 42 from the high-tech industry, but that doesn't mean that I stopped working. Again, I met my husband at Intel, and we've been married for 33, almost 34 years, and still going strong. We have 3 wonderful children that we homeschooled when we retired, and the world was our classroom. We were able to travel and go see things that, when we were studying the Mayan ruins, we went to the Mayan ruins, and that was awesome. We have given them the gift of graduating from college debt-free so they can start their life without that being over their head. We enjoy having an awesome vacation home in the Sierras in the summers. We hike the trails at 8,000 feet, and we also enjoy skiing there in the winter. Well, not with COVID last year, but we do love to travel. And so we try to schedule at least one trip to go and visit someplace new and learn about their culture. Our strategy, and it's not the same for everybody, Chris can talk about being debt-free or not being debt-free and how to use your money. But for me, I wanted to be debt-free. I wanted to have my homes and not worry about them. being taken away from me or having any problems making those payments. When my daughter, my youngest, was leaving high school to go on to college, I realized, oh my gosh, I can't stay here and keep volunteering, even though I'm a volunteer queen and only God knows how many hours I've put in. So I started a direct sales business, which actually is doing very well, but it led me into a coaching business. So my biggest joy is helping people to chart their own course, map out their life's journey, and have fun in the process. So I want them to measure life like I do by adventures, not years. So as you see, I feel that I have gone into the third of my life, making it the best third of my life. And I wanted to share one of my favorite quotes. Aging is an extraordinary process where you become the person you were always should have been. And believe it or not, David Bowie said that. And I think how I interpret this or internalize it is we are always we are capable of. We have the means to be extraordinary, but so much of our society and our programming and our environment keeps us from being who we should always be. So that's how I kind of twist that around. So a thought question: how will you spend the last 10 years of your life? I like to focus on the last 30 or 40 years of your life because I plan to live to at least 100, if not 110, and still be active. But a lot of people look at just the last 10 of your years of your life. And I want to play a video that's provided by Canadian Heart and Stroke Foundation, but it really comes home. And to me, is an eye-opener of what the last days of your life could be like.
Oh, Marilyn, we can't hear the volume.
Oh,
You gotta use a setting on.
Sorry, it's probably. Here we go. Is it playing now?
Yep.
Can you hear it, Chris? Okay.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide. The average Canadian will spend their last 10 years in sickness. Change your future at makehealthlast.ca.
Well, I don't know how you feel, but when I saw that for the first time, I was like, oh man, that kind of woke me up. And so my thoughts were, if you basically, how do you want to feel? What do you want to be doing? I don't have grandkids yet, so that quick enough to play with my grandkids is really important to me because I want to chase them around the yard. I want to be able to take them on some of my favorite hikes. I want to be there and still be snow skiing so I can watch them learn how. And then, will I be strong enough to still do those things myself and physically capable of? So to be able to grow old in vitality versus grow old in disease is really important to me. And the key thought here is that what you need to understand is what you do in your 40s and 50s, and Ashley, for you in your 30s, determines how life will be in your 60s and 70s. So I wish people had been a little more aggressive with me back when I was in my 40s, because I had several friends say, oh, you better take care of yourself because I know you love to take care of everybody else, but if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be here to take care of others. And I said, yeah, I'm not going to get old. I'm not going to, that's not going to happen to me, but it does. It happens to all of us. And so having a plan or having a vision for your future and what it's going to be like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s will help you define what you need to do today in your younger years so that you can be that person you want to be. So another way to look at this is I like to look at life in phases, and you can put whatever years you want to in here, but I want to help people make the last third of their life the best third. And I'll tell you some things, some reasons why. So I look at the first third of your life, you spend a lot of time, you're acquiring skills, you're, having your first experiences, but you spend a lot of time pleasing parents and pleasing people. So this isn't just, this is all of your society. So, you want to fit in at school. So you're pleasing your friends at school. You get your first job. You want to please your boss so you can have more responsibility or get more pay. But you also ponder. I remember my son came home from college when he graduated and he goes, "What's my purpose in life?" He goes, "I have no clue why I'm here and what I should be doing." So that's where in this phase of life, you really kind of find who you are, what it is you want to do and what you want to accomplish, or at least start thinking about that. You start building those plans for the second phase of your life and what that looks like. And obviously you're learning. And I look at this phase as this is the grow and learn and experience phase. Then you kind of move in, and it varies by people, in experience. I accomplished a lot in this phase. So by the time I was 30, I had already done quite a bit of the few things that I wanted to. But I continued to utilize the skills that I'd learned to make a living and build more in life. And in this phase, you really look at, and by the way, in the first phase is where you really start building your ego. You have those successes. If you played sports, you became a good sports player and you're like, yeah, my stuff don't stink. And then you move into the second phase of life and you're really focused on impressing people. Are you competing with the Joneses? And obviously you want to impress your manager because you want to climb that career ladder. You want to achieve and grow. The focus a lot of times is gaining respect. You want people to respect you for your skills and who you are, and you want to get that recognition for all that you've accomplished. So I look at this life as you're building and acquiring and expanding, and you're busy. I was trying to fit it all in, a full-time career, a marriage, a home, 3 kids, and still travel and do all the exciting things that I wanted to do. And frankly, it was exhausting. But I enjoyed every minute of it. And so I look at this phase as you're expanding, you're sharing, and you're experiencing. I also look at this phase as this is where my ego really grew, and my identity was very wrapped up in all that I was doing. And so I want to move to the last, and why I think the last phase of your life is the best phase of your life, because frankly, you get to step back, you get to enjoy it, you get to explore it with a different view and different eyes. You get to share your wisdom because heck, you've been around long enough, you've learned a lot and experienced a lot. And so you can share that with others. It's an opportunity to be able to give back to the community and people. And if you so choose, build a legacy, what footprint are you going to leave on the world? So most of our training and our experience is we worry about getting older. Oh my gosh, what's going to break? What's going to fall apart? And that's just part of our training. We don't look at aging as something good. I think we've all, seen our parents age, we've seen other people age, but I try to surround myself with older people who are wonderful role models of still being active. In fact, some of them kick my butt hiking and walking. And so of course I'm going to hike and walk with them more. Like I say, when you leave the work, you kind of walk away from that identity. Your kids leave, you lose your parenting identity. So you really should think about before you get into retirement and on your own, who you want to be. What do you, what's your identity? How do you want to be viewed? And like I say, what legacy do you want to leave behind? Whether it's charitable or educational, whatever that is. Um, the best part about this phase of life to me is you are dang well free to do what you want to do. So I no longer care what other people think. I don't have a boss to please. And my friends all know me and they either love me or they're not my friends. And I hang around with some of the coolest people. The other thing too is that they say you always divert back to childhood as you age. Well, I think the thing that I enjoy most about that saying is I now take the time to be present. I think I've watched more sunsets in my 60s, and I'm only 62, than I have in any of the other phases of my life. I enjoy the flowers as they bloom. If you remember when, if you had children, or I doubt you remember when you were a child, but if you had children, you were able to go ahead and be able to live life through their eyes. They would pick you a flower. Well, it was a dandelion and it was really a weed, but it was a flower. And they found every freaking bug there is in the yard to point out to you and say, "Ooh, look at that, Mom," or they brought it home to you in their hand. So I find myself now really slowing down and really being present in my environment and enjoying it, from a different view. So I think this time I'm going to say my ego is taking a back seat. I don't care about what people think. I get to be myself. I get to enjoy who I truly am. And what a way to spend the last 30 of your life. So I look at this as you evolve, you share, and you definitely get to re-experience all the wonderful things in life. So with that, if you are ready to make the last third of your life the best third, I have some gifts for you. I've put the links in the chat. So if you would like to book a complimentary coaching session to brainstorm some things for the last third of your life, there's a link. And then I also have created a couple of evaluations that you can do on your own to think about your life and, really look at where you are now and what you might want to change or what you might want to add to your life. And then there's also a relationship because I'm very happy to have my husband, Kurt, with me because we do a lot of things together. And that was really important during the COVID year to have that partner available. So the relationship evaluation just helps you identify how you can make your relationship nice and strong. And I am going to take a moment to introduce you to Chris as I pass the baton. Chris's passion is for educating individuals, families, and businesses about their finances. He empowers them using resources that are hands-on and tailored to their needs. He assists clients to achieve their maximum wealth, taking into effect their lifestyle choices or goals. So as an advisor, he strives to increase his clients' net worth, empowering them to have that maximum wealth, but be able to spend and enjoy so they can have the best third of their life, as well as a strategy that if they haven't spent it all, where do they want to pass it on to family, charities, etc. His previous experience before financial advisor was serving as a practice management consultant, where he was able to assist more than 1,000 advisors nationwide, improving their service to their clients, and also worked for Accenture, providing guidance to the top 10 banks in the world. So I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to you, Chris. You can add to your introduction.
Thank you, Marilyn. I don't know what to add to that other than to embellish upon it a little bit. Yes, as Marilyn said, I've been in the financial services industry for about 11 plus years. The first 9 of those, I was a practice management consultant, which meant I did go into other financial advisors' offices and help them to do their jobs better. From a technology standpoint, from a process standpoint, from a client services standpoint, from an investment standpoint, everywhere, in every which way. I worked with advisors that are in the quote unquote top 100 in the US with assets under management in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Worked with high net worth only financial advisors, which means you have to have $1 million liquid cash to work with them first. And other advisors that would take anyone under the sun and everyone in between. That gave me a very unique perspective on how to help people, because what I learned was that the people that were the best advisors had the most intelligent clients, aka the ones that knew the most about a lot of things, but also realized that they didn't know everything about money. As Marilyn might have mentioned earlier, I moved into my mom's house a little while ago. She was sick, and there was some plumbing work that needed to be done. Plumbers came in, they had an assessment. There was 2 pipes for 2 toilets upstairs, and I came to them and I said, why can't we just have one? Because I don't know anything about plumbing. I'm completely ignorant as to how that works. Plumbers looked at me and they said, what do you mean, why do you need 2? And I said, well, why do you need 2? Why can't you just do one? Well, you flush one at one time, you got backup, you got problems. And I'm like, stop, I get it. You need 2 pipes, we're done. Why did I ask the question? Because I didn't know the answer. And there's a lot of things that happened in that whole plumbing scenario that I was like, why are you doing that? You give me the answer and I'd say, that makes sense, let's do it. But you can't know everything about everything. And a lot of people, unfortunately in America, believe that they have their finances in order, they've got their finances together. When the reality is, before COVID, 78% of Americans lived paycheck to paycheck. Now it's probably more like 90% with the COVID circumstances that are going on. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have your finances in order. You need some help. You need some education on how to do it better. One of my favorite clients was a young man that I met a couple years ago, right when I first started to become an advisor. And he had just gone making 40 grand a year to 80 grand a year. We sat down and we had a conversation because he just wanted to start investing and saving for retirement. Well, I found out he had a child, and we said, okay, great. First thing you gotta do is get life insurance. He grumbled, and I said, no, you've got to be responsible. This is what you do just in case something happens. Your kid's got to be taken care of. He grumbled. We made it happen. Next day, he said, hey, great, I want to start investing. And I said, whoa, stop. The next thing you got to do is show me you can be fiscally responsible. And he said, what the heck does that mean? I said, you got to have $10,000 in the bank cash before I let you invest. Kind of looked at me and said, why do I need that much money? I said, well, if you lose this job, you're going to take your money that you put in your investment accounts, you're going to take it out. You're going to be charged penalties, or you're going to have to put your life on an 18% credit card, which is going to devastate you. Again, he grumbled. We met this past October, and he'd saved $18,000 in a year because I made him stop and consider what was really important for him. What was important to him? Making sure his child was taken care of, making sure that he had retirement started, and making sure he had a down payment for a house. He'll have a down payment for a house in less than 2 years, while saving retirement at both his 401k at work and his IRA with me. So he's well on his way to getting what he wanted because we took a minute to stop and assess what he really wanted, which comes to what an assessment is. Because most people, when they hear financial advisors, all they hear is, they're going to ask me about how much money you have in the bank. That's not the point. The point isn't how much money you have in the bank. The point is, do you have the behaviors to get what you want and get where you want to go? So I am also going to share a video here about the Fit to Retire platform that was started by somebody at my company. And it talks a little bit about the retirement aspects. And once we get through it, I'm going to share with you some more documents about it. But it's going to talk about, again, the 5 areas that was mentioned by Marilyn, where you have social, self-identity, health, nutrition, personal relationships, in addition to your money, because money's just the vehicle to get what you actually want to have happen to you. You've got to actually have those conversations about that. So, like I said, I'm going to share you a little video here really quickly about what Fit to Retire is, because they do it a lot better than I do in this little video. So give me 1 second to bring it up. I'm going to have to set my audio settings here. Hold on 1 second. You should be able to hear it yet. Pause. Hold on 1 second. Share. Give me 1 second. That didn't quite go as expected. Obviously. I had it all set up. Share screen, share computer sound. YouTube. All right, here we go.
Does your intuition tell you there is more to retirement than just a simple financial measurement? Your intuition is right. Jim is on the cusp of retirement. Like hundreds of thousands of his fellow baby boomers, the calendar is telling him it's time to retire, but he's not sure if he's ready enough. In fact, he's a little dazed and confused by the prospect. Who knew? Who knows? Jim heads over to his financial institution to discuss whether he is prepared or not. They do a simple financial measurement and pronounce him ready. But when Jim gets the news and leaves, he feels even more confused and less confident than he was before going. He doesn't feel that preparedness for retirement is simply an algebraic calculation. But then Jim heard about Fit to Retire, the readiness roadmap. Fit to Retire helps you prepare for retirement in a more thorough way. Jim calls a certified Fit to Retire coach to learn more about the process. Before their meeting, the coach gives Jim an access code to take the online Fit to Retire assessment that analyzes both his degree of readiness and his enthusiasm in 5 different areas of retirement success: self-identity, social, health and nutrition, and personal relationships, in addition to financial security. The psychometrically designed Fit to Retire measurement tool gives Jim and his coach a clearer overall measurement of his preparedness to retire. In addition to measuring the financial, Fit to Retire measures 5 areas of retirement success: self-identity, social, health and nutrition, and personal relationships, in addition to financial security. Unlike his financial institution that focuses only on financial measures, Jim's coach can now help him get the most out of his retirement in each of its different seasons. Using the completed assessment, Jim and his coach meet to understand Euro, you only retire once, aspirational planning, and identify the 3 seasons of retirement and how Jim can get the most out of them. Simply put, the 3 seasons of retirement, go-go, slow-go, and no-go, allow Jim and his coach to build a financial model that is more relevant and realistic. Jim's next step is a customized pre-retirement checklist with specific steps spelled out for the pre-start of his voyage. But here's where it gets fun. In each of the 5 areas of retirement success, Jim has created a 100-day playbook of things he's going to do in the first 100 days of his retirement. Things like taking a cooking class, join a Zumba class, attend a Civil War roundtable, hike the Appalachian Trail, and travel to see old friends. Armed with his plan in place, he can't wait. Now it's go time for Jim. He is fit to retire because he's intentionally put together a readiness roadmap using the Fit to Retire tool. With his playbook in hand and his ducks in a row, Jim is ready to make his retirement great, and his adventure begins. It's very important to work with a certified coach with a specific expertise in this area and access to these tools. That's your most important next step.
All right, so that was the Fit to Retire platform that Marilyn and I shared with her, and she got really excited about, because as it mentioned, it accesses everything aside from just the readiness to retirement for finances, because there's so much more than finances, right? That's usually where people start, but it's not where the reality of people don't worry about their money. If they've got enough money, they're not going to worry about it because they understand what their lifestyle is going to be. So as the video mentioned, there are some playbooks that are created. So I want to share with you a couple of them that I took myself. And I didn't answer as someone who is completely ready to retire. So I want to give you a view of it where it is not just all roses and everyone's ready to retire, because a lot of people aren't and they're not sure about it. So here is one of the documents that comes across. It's the assessment that comes to you. So again, it would show you where you're at in terms of your items here. Again, there's a little intro, tells you preparation and enthusiasm for health and nutrition, self-identity, personal relationships, social, and of course the financial readiness. So when I took it, I'm in my late 40s. I took it with a little bit of, and I've got a 10-year-old daughter. So I am not someone who is ready to retire at this moment in time. I have scored out as moderate preparedness and low enthusiasm. I've got 20 years to go. I'm not enthusiastic about retiring at this moment in time. However, somebody who's older might score out higher, depending upon, again, where they are in the chart. And it doesn't really matter because this just gives you a snapshot of where you're at to be able to talk about. Again, my scores, my enthusiasm, preparedness, obviously, relationship, I was scored the highest. My financial preparedness and enthusiasm, we're all low because, again, I've got a 10-year-old daughter. I know what I need to do, but she doesn't graduate from high school for 8 years and college for another 4 years after that. I am well into my working years, into my 60s, probably even longer, doing what I do in my 70s. Probably not going to retire, as Marilyn said, for a long time, right? This then goes into areas that add to my readiness and detract, right? One of the things that comes up for a lot of people, and I put this in as one of my answers, I don't know I'm going to fill my social calendar once I'm retired. That's a big challenge for a lot of people. What are they going to do? As Marilyn said, are they going to become a Netflix person and sit on the couch and watch TV and become the couch potato, right? Are you concerned about outliving your retirement income? A lot of people have that concern, right? Marilyn said she wants to live to be 100 years old. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, am I gonna have enough money? That's a concern, right? These are things that people talk about and think about more than talk about. They think about it, they worry about it, they don't want to talk about it. Again, this is where someone can help, like myself, okay? And then it goes on to give all of my answers, right, in the assessment. So you don't need to see all the answers that I gave, but it does give you a glimpse into the power of the program, because that's the important thing, is being able to see that the assessment isn't about whether you have money in the bank or not. It's about where you want to put your life. And then the other big thing is the 100-day playbook, which, again, when people step into retirement, they have no idea. As Marilyn said, one of the big drivers of people, particularly Americans, who are you? I work at Intel. I work as a financial advisor. I work as a construction person. I work as a salesperson. That is their identity. Their identity is tied to what they do. So when you retire, what is your identity? Right? So you've got to come up with a playbook to be able to start that process. And what this assessment will do is I can then generate a playbook. As you can see here, I generate it for myself again. It's go time. Your first 100 days, this can make or break people's retirement. They get done with their job and they look around and they go, what next? Plan for this socially, plan for this with health and nutrition, plan for the relationships all in advance, and you'll have a better time in your retirement to actually enjoy it and get what you actually want out of life. People worked hard to get to retirement. It's a goal. And then once people get there, it's, well, what do I do next? Plan for that. We can help you, both Marilyn's coaching and my coaching. And these assessments, they can help you get there. All right, so this is go time again, based upon the questionnaire that you answered. Again, my self-identity, I'm moderate and low. It comes up with a couple of ideas. Come up with a new hobby, plan a trip you've never been before, volunteer, adventure travel, based upon some of my responses. Okay, then it gives you a list of everything that is possible from, not everything's possible, sorry, not everything, a lot of possibilities to get your brain working about what you might actually want to do. And when people go through this, I give them this document. This is something they take away with them. And then obviously there's a couple of spots here for your own ideas, because we can't think of everything. That's up to you to figure out what's important for you in your retirement. Right? And then there's what you want to do, initial steps, and an action calendar. Somebody I know says, if you think about it, great. If you talk about it, great. But if you actually put it down on paper and you schedule it, now you've actually got something that you can do. You've got a goal, you've got a deadline, you've got an action plan. We want to help you to try and get that action plan started and put it into play. So we have the 3 plays here. Again, then we give you some resources. Not just myself, not just Marilyn. We'll actually give you some websites here to work on. Social, again, the same thing. I scored low and low. Start a card night with friends. Right? Become a regular neighborhood coffee shop. Or again, once COVID ends, figure out where that could potentially be. Social media. Start to get involved in social media. If you're not somebody who does that, if you're not connected with people, this gives you some recommendations on how to do that. And then organize trips away with your friends to get back into social. This will go into the health and nutrition as well. And we'll just kind of go through those, but it's the same type of thing for all of them with the health, nutrition, everything but the finances covered in here. This goal of this document is for you to figure out how to enjoy your retirement, because you've done the work to make sure it's all set up and done for you and you're prepared for it. So those are just a couple of the ways in which we give everything. There's another document that's produced as well that talks about a checklist of things to do early in your retirement planning, mid and final retirement planning. A lot of that is more of the financial things, which is important, but it's not the end all be all. It's the way to actually achieve what you want. So with that, I figure we don't want to take up the entire time today. Marilyn, do you have anything you want to add before we open up for any questions, comments, concerns, or cheap shots?
No, I was just, will you put the link to do the assessment in the chat?
Absolutely.
Because it is, Chris and I are involved in a networking group. And so I was excited because it lined up with my coaching. And so I took the assessment myself, and I'm glad to say I'm doing great. I have my area of health to focus on and get better at, but I was real intrigued with the tools, because again, the thing is to be thought-provoking and utilizing tools that are available to get you to think ahead or to start planning. And so I thought it was very useful.
And the assessment it took me 5 minutes because I went through it quickly. I've heard other people say it takes 10 minutes. One person said it took 15 because they took a long time to think about things. But again, it's up to you in terms of what you want to get and how you want to accurately answer an assessment. Right? It's all about what you want. It's all about your perspective on it and how you want to hopefully get yourself set up for retirement. Again, whether you're early stages, I was talking to someone who's going to be a referral partner in one of the areas of health and nutrition. And she was in her 40s and she said, oh my gosh, I got to send this out to all my 40-year-old friends because even though the assessment says, oh, in the 50s and 60s, she wants to retire in her 50s. So for her, this is a 10-year window for her to get herself ready. So depending upon where you want to go, you want to start as early as you possibly can to make sure you can maximize your preparedness, again, across social, health, nutrition, personal relationships, and self-identity, because the money will play itself out. But if you don't have the other four, you're not going to enjoy your retirement as much as you probably could. So any questions, comments, concerns for anybody about either mine or Marilyn's discussions?
I just need money. So I'm working on it. Mom, you need to pay me more.
Okay.
I'll take some of her shares. Just give them to me. We'll be fine. No, I'm insane. Mom takes really good care of me. I'm just kidding.
See, that's the funny thing is that you say, I just need money. Well, if you plan it out, you can figure out what you need to get there, right? And that's just what the whole objective of retirement planning is. And then Marilyn will attest to this. That questionnaire asks 0 questions about how much money is in the bank. Because you've got to get the other stuff. The money will come, but you've got to do the full preparedness. It's not just a financial thing for retirement. It's how ready are you to retire in all these areas.
One of the things that I should have talked about on the chart when I was going through the phases of life is, you're in that, when you're in your first phase of life, you're thinking, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want about this, I want to be able to do this. And then you get into the second phase of your life and you start acquiring all that stuff. And oh my gosh, isn't this great? But you don't have time to use any of it. And then you get into the final phase of your life and you go, whoa, what am I going to do with all this stuff? My kids don't want to sort through this, and they don't care about that, or they don't care about this. And oh my gosh, I told my husband when we got married, I don't care, because we were both income, dual income at Intel. I said, I don't care. Whatever you buy yourself, buy me one. and it was like, okay, yay, So I was like, oh, honey, you can sell that. I'm never going to ride that motorcycle. Or, oh my gosh, I haven't windsurfed and since I was pregnant with Carla. You can get rid of that windsurfer. It's just that mode that we, society, it's like, acquire, acquire, acquire. And then you spend the last third of your life, trying to get rid of all of it.
Right.
So don't buy it in the first place.
Be
Or
way better
buy
off,
it, use
yeah.
it, get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
True. Well, I appreciate you guys coming and joining us.
Okay.
It's awesome to see you, Chris and Ashley. And thank you, Jody, for popping in, and Colleen and Corey. We need to schedule some time to talk. But I hope you had some ahas in the thought process that Chris and I shared. And you know how to get a hold of us if you need us.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time. Enjoy. Be safe.
All right. Take care.
Stop recording now.